I'm not going to try to hide it. I have been getting progressively more amped for the start of this football season over the first couple days of this week. It's only Tuesday, but the game's on a Friday, so it feels like it's just around the corner. I started a new show called Everything Else with Joshua Brisco right here on KC Sports Network yesterday, and it was so exciting. We were getting into the groove. It felt like we're back. Today I was listening to KCSN Live right here on KCSN with Tucker D. Franklin, and he was talking ball, baby. The football is here. We're going to talk about the Chargers some today. Real football is so close, but yet several days away, and so I offer this. If you, like me, are worried about your heart health, if you, like me, have maybe gotten too excited on a Tuesday for a football game that won't happen until Friday, if you, like me, have been waiting for meaningful Chiefs football, but you have to get to the end of the week before you can enjoy it, let me read you this from Football Zebras on Twitter. Referee for Chiefs at Chargers, Carl Cheffers. My heart rate is back to resting, and I think I'll make it to Friday. Christmas, and we just found out that your least favorite second uncle is going to be there making up the rules of the board games on Christmas Eve. Now it's Only Weird Games, Joshua Brisco and Seth Keysor. Oh, I think I just touched the third rail for Seth. There's somebody in his life that's making up rules for board games, not named Carl Cheffers. What's up, Seth?
There are rules for a reason. And without rules, we're just animals. This is for people like, well, in Monopoly, what I want to do is have free parking. Everyone gets all the money. That's not
why the game's bad.
That's
why you don't like it.
It takes so much longer. I mean, because it's like, oh, you're losing because of consummate skill. By the way, Monopoly is a skill game. You're losing, and now because you landed somewhere with a roll of the dice, which to be fair, that is pretty heavily involved early in the game as well. Now suddenly you have this massive, I was down to my last dollar. Now I have $75,000 and I'm going to, buy everyone out. That is not, well, someone could talk a lot about analogous to luck and market, but either way, that is not the rules of the game. And that's not how it plays. It's like, but this is how I play. My pawn can jump over 3 places. No, it can't. Your pawn can move 1 space at a time unless you're right at the beginning. Then it can move 2 and just leave it alone. Sorry. I'm sorry.
No,
sorry.
Don't be. Amen. Amen, says the congregation. You would have thought we talked about this before, but unless we've done it on a podcast episode that we've both forgotten, I don't think we have. The reason you, voyeur, who doesn't like Monopoly, the reason you don't like Monopoly is because you're not playing by the rules. Seth had it. Seth got it and won. You're taking money from free parking that's not there. Therefore, the game lasts forever. Is Monopoly flawed in the way that it, bankrupts players at seemingly random intervals, and so you don't get to all finish playing the game at the same time? Yes, of course, that's a flaw.
Yeah, that's
does
fair.
Does it underscore the fact that the market isn't fair? Yes, it does. So that's a point in favor of Monopoly. Is it ultimately a pretty good capitalistic version of a board game? I think it actually is, because no one's happy at the end except for the people with all the money. But Seth, you're so right. Wow. The rules matter. Games matter. I feel like I don't derail the show in the first 5 minutes as often as I used to, but Seth, Nate's not here today. Nate Taylor of ESPN, not here on today's show because he is en route to Brazil. I think he's actually en route to Atlanta right now, or maybe he's Atlanta to Brazil right now. I don't know. He's on the way. So no Nate today. We'll get his Brazilian analysis on Thursday when he joins us from Brazil. Nate's going to give us a Brazilian. We have a very special deal for the final act of today's show, by the way. I'll save the introduction when our special guest arrives. We have a special guest and a very special time of year to share that. But I took a class in college, Seth, called Games as Learning Systems. It was, I know it sounds like a fake made up class that was an easy A. It was one of the 5 hardest classes I took in college.
I watched one of my llast classes, my last semester in law school, was called Lawyers in Film. We watched a bunch of Perry Mason videos and talked about it. So you don't need to justify anything to me. It probably cost me $10,000, but I digress. So go on.
Games as learning systems. And we talked about how, and this is so true throughout so many video games and board games, and you play it. It's why, like, Madden and college football 25, 26 now, like, have some utility in terms of, like, here's a way you can learn the rules of the game. You can't learn every intricacy of football by, just sending 6 every time in college football 26, but you can learn a little bit more because it's a game and you're having fun because it's a game. All of this is a delight. I really enjoyed that class. I look back on that class very fondly, but I also had to make a game. And I gotta tell you, when you're trying to make a game, the idea that the rule book will get to your players and they'll just chuck it over their shoulder is akin to insanity. I can't imagine working through so many iterations of a game only to show up somewhere, see your game on the shelf, and then have your people go, "Oh, well, we have some house rules." No, you don't. Not here. Not when I'm in your house. You don't.
No. You can't call it rules. You can say we have house anarchy and we don't follow rules. Okay, fine. You're a benevolent dictator of your own creation. You enjoy that. Fair enough. The people of North Korea think they're happy too. So if everyone in your household is capitulated to you being a despot, fair enough. But I don't. The rules exist for a reason. And look, sometimes rules have to change in games and in life eventually. But if you don't think rules matter, go to an American airport and then go to a Japanese airport. And you tell me exactly why rules are important, because you're going to be like, that was a really incredible experience. Yes, it was, because everyone collectively said, we're going to follow the rules and shame you horribly if you don't. Now, that second part is pretty tough. He said, as a quarter Japanese person, that's occasionally hard and it lives with you for the rest of your life. But what it teaches you to do, follow the rules, because the nail that stands out gets hammered down. That's the expression in Japan, more or less. The expression in the U.S. is the squeaky wheel gets the oil. And in Japan, it's like, why would you be a squeaky wheel? Like, why would you harm your entire family by being a squeaky wheel is more or less the expression in Japan, because rules matter, people. So I'm glad. And you know what? The rules matter to the Chiefs too. That's why anyone who claims anything else, because I'm already seeing, I don't know if you've seen making the rounds, there's already Chargers fans talking about ref stuff.
Yeah, of course.
I'm here for it this year. After the way the Super Bowl went, it was horrible. I'm just here for it. It's going to be delicious if people jump right back on the ref thing. That'll be incredible, and I'm excited for it.
I might let you have that one this year. I don't know. I got too mad too often last year, so maybe if I can just sort of find the fun with it, I'll be in a better headspace. But yeah, nothing says confident winner like complaining about the referees many days before the game kicks off. I don't know. Everybody's got to watch and enjoy sports with their own brain. And if you've gotten to the point where your brain has to run it all through the ref prism, I would really encourage you to maybe go watch a different sport for a little while, take a day off, take a year off. If you're a Chargers fan, take as much time off as you want. You're not going to miss a whole lot. That's not even fair, because as we do begin this week of preparing for Chiefs Chargers, it'll be the second game of the NFL season, kicks off Friday night in Sao Paulo, Brazil. I have found myself over this last year or so, I've been pro Justin Herbert since he started playing NFL football. I thought that draft pick was hilarious and disastrous, and I was very wrong about that. And then Harbaugh shows up, and you're like, oh, okay, I see the kind of the nucleus here. We will talk about the Chargers more as we go. We'll talk about them more on Thursday as well, I'm sure. But Seth, with just you and me for a little while, special guest later on. No Nate, as he's on his way out there to start covering the entire week there in Brazil. I wanted to kind of do a little bit of a big picture check on a few things, and also to return to a topic that we talked a lot about, honestly, like 3 or 4 shows in a row. It's like, man, we talked about the safety position a lot during this stretch. And I don't remember if it was a Jaden Hicks film review into some other news, into some Brian Cook talk or whatever it was. They signed Christian Fulton this offseason. We've seen some things there in the preseason now. So let's start with the defensive secondary. We talked about the defensive line a lot on Thursday as all of those things were happening. By the way, Mike Pennell is now a Cincinnati Bengal. If you want to just file that one away, I'll tell you this. I talked about it a lot in yesterday's episode of Everything Else with Joshua Brisco, available wherever you get your podcasts or right here on the KCSN YouTube channel. And Tucker and Matt Verderam on that football show talked about it a lot. Did a great job there as well. So if you want more Mike Pennell stuff, I think we've covered our bases. But the secondary behind them, I think a month ago we viewed as a bit of a strength, and I think we viewed I think we felt like we knew what the plan was going to be.
Yes.
Mike Edwards getting cut didn't fundamentally change that. He's on the practice squad now. I think Mike Edwards getting cut after a subpar preseason for him. I think you just go age, but maybe he has a role.
Mm-hmm.
A couple things that I think are really curious here, and you just pick which one you want to go with first, or if you want to go off the board, feel free. Jaden Hicks in the preseason was safety 3 behind Brian Cook and Shamari Connor. Shamari Connor is playing some of that slot safety hybrid kind of thing, but it seems like he is once again playing safety. Chris Roland Wallace is playing safety now, and also some of that hybrid stuff. Like clearly they are happy to let him cover some, but he is really transitioned into a safety. Christian Fulton played a lot in week 3 of the preseason, got that cardio, got that rust off. I think it looks like things are good there. Trent McDuffie not getting a deal done before the start of the season, according to Nate Taylor of ESPN. More from him on that on Thursday. And Jalen Watson, he's out around there. Najee Johnson's on IR short term. Josh Williams, Noah Williams still on the roster. There's a lot of moving parts there. I think for me, I'm the most curious where you land on the Jaden Hicks of it all, just because we felt like you, me, and Nate were thinking it was going this direction. Felt like the Chiefs felt like it was going in this direction, where he would just be the guy who steps in behind Justin Reed. And I don't know if that's happening. It's not off the table, but it wasn't being served up in the preseason.
And that's, you never know with Spags until the season starts. And then really, 4, 5, 6 weeks into the season, honestly, or even after the bye, you don't know. Spags, I mean, one of his huge strengths as a defensive coordinator is things change game by game, month by month, season by season, season by quarter. I mean, he just is constantly changing things up. Like if someone were to ask, what is Spags' base defense? Like someone would say a 43, but he uses a 43 under a lot, which looks a lot more like a 34 than anything else a lot of the time. Like everyone should remember, Reggie Ragland lining up like an outside linebacker and being a useful player in that first Super Bowl win. But like, I don't know. We've seen in the past, there has been a disconnect at times between what the front office wants, like what they're handing Spags, and then what Spags decides to do with that. We've seen that in the past. Not a ton. They generally are on pretty similar pages, but Spags is going to Spags means a lot of things. It means he's a brilliant game planner. It means he's a one-off game planner. That's been one of the secret sauces to the dynasty, and we talked about this a ton, is Spags is one of the best one-off game planning defensive coordinators I've seen. He's just terrific at it. But, and then, of course, 3rd and long, I'm blitzing. Like, he's nuts. I love it. And never change, Spags. It's awesome. Every now and then it results in catastrophe, but it usually results in something awesome. So don't ever change. So that's another thing that Spags is going to Spags means. The third and final one is that Spags is going to play his guys kind of come hell or high water. And Andy's going to let him. And especially at this point, like, if you're Andy, what are you going to say to Spags when you're like, no, don't do that, Steve? Steve might be one of the few coordinators with the juice in the NFL to be like, no, I'm going to go ahead and do this. Now, I don't know if he would, but he runs the defense. Everyone knows that. It's
very hard to imagine there being a serious headbutting between Andy Reid and Steve Spagnuolo. Like, I feel like the mutual respect and accolades are too cemented for that to ever be a real concern, I think.
Right. And we won't really know what the snap count looks like. For me, if Brian Cook and Shamari Connor are your number 1 and number 2 safeties and Jaden Hicks is your 3rd guy, fair enough. I don't care. The thing that I care about much more is 2-part. The first is this did seem to be the plan with Jaden Hicks that he would step in. It could be, now they played him quite a bit last year, especially down the stretch, and he played well. We talked about that earlier this offseason. He showed that he could do a lot of the things that Justin Reed was doing, which is great. Now, Justin Reed did a lot of other stuff too that can you come in and do all those things? The weird thing for me is Shamari Connor's been in the league long enough now. We know he can't do all the things Justin Reed can do. Barring him being a different style player this year than he's been before. Can't rule that out. It would surprise me though. It's weird to me that they might have him be your second starting safety and kind of that slot guy. I actually really liked seeing them move Roland Wallace.
Mhm.
I liked seeing him. Is it Christian or Christopher?
It's Christian, often just Chris. But
Yeah, okay.
But Christian Fulton showing up and spelling his name differently is what made my brain short circuit.
I really psyched myself out there. I do this as a job, people. My apologies.
So, listen, man, you talk long enough.
Having Roland Wallace rotate in as a safety,
CRW,
is a really good idea. I like his skill set, especially if you're going to have him if you're going to have a safety do some slot stuff. You know who's better at that than Shamari Connor? Christian Roland Wallace. He's better at it. That's where Connor, we saw it again in the preseason, and I had a bunch of people tell me it's just preseason, don't sweat it, including our beloved Nate Taylor of ESPN. The problem is I saw him get exposed in the slot during the regular season last year too. He's a good player. He flies up to the ball in a way that a lot of guys on this defense don't always. Hits hard, can do a lot of different things, but he is not a slot corner. He is not a guy who can cover receivers out of the slot. He gets exposed, whether it's man, match, or zone. So I'm curious what they're going to do with him there. I think some of our insecurity at safety, Jaden Hicks got kind of some assumptive treatment that we don't usually give to second-year players. In that he played well as a rookie, but there was just enough mystery there that I think allowed us to just keep projecting. And now we're seeing, maybe that's not what's going to happen. And now suddenly loss of Justin Reed feels a lot more serious if it's Cook and Connor and you don't have that third guy who's like, everyone just kind of thought he'd slide in because Jaden Hicks, that was him in college. He was the brain of the defense, all that stuff. Here again, he might see 80% of the snaps and largely be in the Justin Reed type roles and come Friday, and we're all going to be like, oh, okay. But I'm still very comfortable with the cornerback room, but the safety, the plan doesn't seem to be going quite the way they envisioned.
And I think the Shamari Connor part of it is the one that's the most intriguing to me. And I guess there's a chance that Occam's razor here is just that Steve Spagnuolo really wants Shamari Connor on the field and that he's gone to lengths to make sure he is. And I would understand that on some level. He's shot out of a cannon, which sometimes makes him hurtleable and sometimes makes him a missile. Yeah. I guess I would add quite genuinely here when you look at and let's not worry too much about the order of Cook and Connor and Hicks as the top three safeties, because to your point, if they're healthy, they're all playing, and they're probably all playing more than 75% of the time. Although 75 is kind of the number I still have in mind. And at this point, I'm not even sure if that's entirely accurate. That's kind of what I have in mind for the sub packages of more DBs on the field.
Right.
In a world where you have Trent McDuffie and Christian Fulton and Jalen Watson, you don't need to always make your fifth defensive back be a safety or a safety playing out of position in the slot coverage role. So I think to take the offensive line's term, I think the best five question is really interesting. Last year when Watson was hurt, I think it was pretty easy to say, just put more safeties on the table because the corners aren't holding up here. But they're not in that spot anymore. And so if it is a Cook, Connor, Hicks rotation, what is it when we talk about Justin Reed? What is it that you're afraid that group might not have quite enough of?
I don't think they diagnose or tackle as well as Reed. Reed does a lot of he could do everything and he could do it all competently, which matters when you're maybe being replaced by someone who can do a lot of things. Some of them maybe even a little bit better than you, but they can't do everything competently. What Justin Reed did best, in my opinion, was help prevent big plays. Especially in the middle of the field where they struggled last year at times when Connor was in the slot. Nick Bolton, we've talked about him ad nauseum, some of his weaknesses or limitations, as much as he's tried to accommodate for those as a smart pro. There are going to be some issues in the spine of the defense there. And Justin Reed helped accommodate for that. And we joke around a lot about there's a reason why the position is called safety. It is let's not let this 15-yard gain turn into a 70-yard touchdown position. Justin Reed always takes a good angle. He always finishes on the play. He always ends it where he arrives. Even if the catch got given up, all that stuff, but he doesn't overrun it and fly off screen. And now suddenly someone's turning up field for a big touchdown. He provided stability and consistency. And that's where I feel like you might see a lot more kind of up, down, and fluctuation from the safety room. The idea, again, I think we all, me included, kind of assumed Jaden Hicks in year 2 would slide in and provide some of that, because that hasn't really been the player Cook has been in the league, and it hasn't been the player Connor's been in the league. And so there is some question to that as to where that comes from, unless, as you said, the idea is now, well, our best 5 is always going to start with Trent McDuffie. And there's an argument to be made that in terms of proven NFL caliber players, their best 3, like if you were to do their best 5, it would go Trent McDuffie, Christian Fulton, Jalen Watson, and Jaden Watson. And then that's where you suddenly, now you have your safeties, Cook, Connor. Like, so I think it could be a very different look for them. I'm kind of hoping it is, but we'll have to see how it pans out. I do half expect them to just see Connor hardly in the slot at all, and I'm just going to feel like a jerk, which, wouldn't be the first time. So
it would, I think, be validating in some ways. I think let him go play the safety position that he's been best at, and let Trent McDuffie be the slot eraser that he is. Also, I tell you what, there aren't a ton of weapons in that Chargers offense that just like truly scare me at this point. Ladd McConkey might be a dude, and yes, Trent McDuffie definitely is. Let me watch them go up against each other 35 times. Just give it to me constantly. I just want every Herbert drop back. He doesn't have to literally follow him around. It's like, hey, McConkey's going to end up in the slot some. He's going to move around a little bit. Just let that be Trent McDuffie's job, and let the bigger, lankier guys deal with Keenan Allen and Quentin Johnston or whatever. We'll do a little bit more of some other things we're looking for early in the season. We're going to take a timeout, but before we do, alert, calling all Chiefs fans. You could be on the field at the 50 inside GEHA Field at Arrowhead Stadium for the official coin toss at a Chiefs home game this season. Visit chiefs.com/GEHA now. Enter to win a chance to be on the field for a once-in-a-lifetime view of the pre-game coin toss. Plus, you can score other exclusive prizes. Enter for a chance to win at chiefs.com/GEHA. GEHA is the proud partner of the Kansas City Chiefs.
Shop Chiefs tickets and more with no fees. Plus, save big with code KCSN at ticketsforless.com, the official ticket provider of KC Sports Network.
What's up, guys? I'm BJ Kissel, founder and CEO of KC Sports Network, and I'm here to talk to Kansas City businesses. If you rely on technology, you need an IT support team that's not just another vendor, but a true IT partner. That's why I want to introduce you to my friend and neighbor, KJ Miller. He is a VCIO at ThrottleNet, the Midwest's highest rated and most reviewed IT support company. They've been in business for more than 25 years, helping companies stay secure, productive, and ahead of the curve. They aren't just IT support, but they provide data security, IT strategy, and cloud software services. They do it all, and their reviews show they do it better than anyone else. So if you want to hear about how ThrottleNet can help your local business, join the conversation with myself, KJ Miller from ThrottleNet, and our resident genius from KC Sports Network when it comes to IT, at least as he's affectionately known by us, Mr. Craig Stout. Click the link in the description to hear how ThrottleNet can help you.
All right, Seth, let's look ahead a little bit here. Again, we'll do plenty of Chiefs-Chargers specific stuff and lean more into that on Thursday. Here's what I've realized. Obviously, Rashee Rice is out for the first 6 weeks of the season. I'm not going to give you the 17-week, that's a win, that's a loss, that's a win. I'm not that interested in doing that for 15 minutes today. But here's what I will say. Chargers, Eagles, at Giants, Ravens, Jags, Lions, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You get Rashee Rice back for the Raiders game the next week. That stretch of 6 games, I think there's a range of outcomes that make sense that the Chiefs could have from all of that. But I really feel like the game that becomes the biggest toss-up is Fridays. If you beat the Chargers in Brazil, you've handled your business, you've done the thing you were expected to do, and you're off and running, you're 1-0, top of the AFC West for week 1, and you send off into week 2. Well, then if you lose to the Eagles, that would be frustrating, it would be annoying, but it's an NFC game, and now you're 1-1, and you're the Chiefs, and you won the game that everybody was watching on YouTube the week before. Okay. You get right against the New York Giants, mandatory. You got to beat the Giants. I don't care that it's a road game. That game could be on the moon. You got to beat the Giants. Then you're back with the Ravens, another game that will have more meaning even than the Eagles game, certainly from a seeding perspective. And I'm taking kind of bad case scenarios here. They could totally lose to the Ravens without Rashee Rice in week 4. At the Jags, you got to win it. Versus the Lions, could go either way. Kind of the worst case scenario for me with a Chiefs win on Friday. The worst case scenario is that they're 500 when Rashee Rice gets back. They're 3-3. And the 1 seed might be out of the picture by then, but the division won't be, and the Super Bowl won't be. You get your center of your offense back, and then you've got 11 games with him to get right. If you lose to the Chargers, I don't know. Again, season's not going to be over, but if you lose to the Chargers, now that Eagles game feels even more important. Now you lose to the Eagles and you're starting 0-2. You beat the Giants, nobody cares. The story is still that you started 0-2. You lose to the Ravens, you're 1-3. Are the Chiefs in trouble? You go to Jacksonville and you win, nobody cares. You're 2-3. You get the Lions, you'd better win on prime time or else the coffins are coming out. Mm-hmm. That doesn't mean that'll be good analysis if that's how it happens, but it did kind of put me into a little bit of a different perspective today where real football doesn't happen till Thanksgiving, I've heard. But losing in Brazil on Friday would set the Chiefs up down in the hole with a really tough stretch of games without Rashee Rice. Beating the Chargers gives them a little bit of wiggle room to where you can snooze any panic button because Rashee Rice isn't back yet. That's a new thing I'm feeling out today. How does that hit you?
I completely agree. I've been workshopping a take about early season football because at times I think we're so rightfully, in a lot of ways, dismissive of what teams look like in September, October, and early November that we tend to forget that the games do matter. And so I think there's got to be a better way of phrasing it. Like real football on film doesn't start until Thanksgiving. That's when you really know who teams are.
But ask the Bengals if September results matter.
Absolutely. And I was even thinking about like for the Chiefs last year, you lose to the Bills mid-season and it doesn't really matter because you've won the games that you needed to win to give yourself a cushion. That's why with a 17-game schedule, just like with a 16-game schedule, every game really does matter when you are playing in the AFC with a bunch of mutants at quarterback, any one of whom could go 15-2 or 16-1. Right. Like they're just, you don't have a lot of wiggle room in the AFC right now. And home field advantage does matter. A bye week, you and I have talked about this for years. It's an automatic win. Calling it a bye week makes people underestimate it. If you just said you get an automatic win in week 1, people would be like, oh, that's awesome. That's what it is. That's what a bye week is. You can automatic win where you don't even have to play. You don't have to game plan. It's such a huge advantage. And there's only one of them. So I'm looking at, to even take it beyond those 6 games, there's a clear delineation. And here's the caveat. We don't know what the season will look like, right? For all we know, Indianapolis is going to be awesome this year, right? Well, Dallas will unexpectedly
not
be
right.
Great.
Not right, actually.
You know, but like, well, probably not. But, Houston's offensive line might suddenly become really good. Tennessee will turn it around. Cam Ward's great. Denver and Vegas are both excellent. Like, these are things that could happen. But barring a cataclysmic turn of events, the difference between the first 9 games that the Chiefs play and the last 8 that they play is wildly substantial. And so I do think it matters a ton making it out alive to give yourself a shot at the 1 seed down the stretch, because that's the goal for the Chiefs, right? This isn't every other team. For the most part, their goal is make the playoffs, right? Or win the division. Like for really good teams, I think Buffalo and Baltimore, it's kind of a given. Like, hey, win your division, make the playoffs. For the Chiefs, it really is get the 1 seed. Get that 1 seed so that way you can rest, come into the playoffs. And so oh no, did I pronounce delineation wrong?
I wasn't going to. Sometimes you say words kind of funny. Balance and bounce was the first one that crossed that threshold for me in like a year. So I wouldn't sweat
Sometimes
it.
I wonder if it's a Minnesota thing or it's a me thing. Either way.
Me too. I also wonder that a lot.
Yeah. So you play, if we're going to go based on preseason hype, okay? Which again, isn't 100% accurate, but it's all we have right now, right? They play 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Super Bowl contenders in 9 games, right? They play Philly, they play Baltimore, they play Detroit, they play Washington, they play Buffalo. Those are, everyone says that those are Super Bowl contenders this year.
Yep.
And so, and then down the stretch, again, if we're just going off preseason projections, they don't play a single Super Bowl contender, depending on how you feel about, I guess, the Broncos, because some people, I'm seeing a lot of stuff. I guess, man, they had a really successful season last year, awesome defense, and got rolled in the first round of the playoffs. Everyone's punking on the Steelers for getting rolled early in the playoffs, and no one cares that the Broncos just got annihilated.
People are doing it for the Chiefs for losing in the Super Bowl.
I know. And to be fair, they did get annihilated.
They did, but nothing matters if people decide they don't want it to matter. It's crazy.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm losing my mind.
It is. It's a wonderful thing. So, I mean, we'll see, but that really is, there's so many iterations of how the season could go. And we've seen the Chiefs every year lose a game or two that they probably shouldn't, except last year when like divine intervention is like, the Raiders are just going to snap the ball for no reason and just give the ball back. The Broncos aren't going to pay attention to the fact that the left side of their field goal unit has been getting caved in all game. They're just not going to. Those are things that, they swung games last year. They're probably going to drop one or two of those this year. Yep. If you can make it out of that early season, and I agree, this one against the Chargers, it's a big deal. It's a divisional opponent that's supposed to be a competitor in the division, so that matters. Being 1-0, it's such a dumb, obvious thing to say. It's so different from being 0-1. You've built up cushion. You go into play Philly where you got a chance to be 2-0. You've got a chance to, get your revenge for the Super Bowl win, or the Super Bowl loss. On a side note, I'd be shocked if the Chiefs care about that. Yeah. I'd be absolutely shocked if the Chiefs care about like getting revenge in a week 2 game, because no one's going to care if the Chiefs win. And they might a little
about that because of their relationship to the Buffalo Bills and the Cincinnati Bengals.
Yeah. The Chiefs, they are not measured, as evidenced by what you just talked about in terms of the Chiefs lost big time, got killed in the Super Bowl. Yeah, it was ugly, man, terrible. They get judged more on that than teams get judged for losing in the wild card round. Or like when people are like, Tom Brady never got smoked in the Super Bowl. Yeah, but he got beat in the wild card round and the divisional round multiple times. Is that better? I had a New England fan honestly, oh, yeah, that's way better. I'm like, what? That's objectively worse. If you did like a system of who finished first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, it's objectively lower on the list.
Objectively, correct.
And so, whatever.
I'd rather not get a medal than end up with bronze. Like,
yeah,
no, you wouldn't.
It's absolutely ridiculous. The Chiefs measure this stuff different, and they are measured differently than every other team in the league right now. Yep. And that's what happens when you're in the middle.
They've earned that.
Yep. Yeah. They are measured not based on how well they play, or they're not just based on wins and losses. How good are the wins and losses? Who are the wins and losses against? Right. Did they really look like themselves? All that stuff's going to matter. But they have a chance to set themselves up for a very different narrative down the stretch. And that's something like in terms of season expectations and what I'm really watching for. The win-loss record matters because you want to get that 1 seed. Mm-hmm. But what's going to matter to me more is, do you look different? This is so dumb because they went to the Super Bowl last year. But do you look different in the areas that you struggled last year? Because let's say the Chiefs look a lot more explosive on offense, but because of the really tough schedule, because of not having Rashee Rice, let's say they're 5-4 after those first 9 games, but they look way more explosive and the defense is starting to round out. I would feel better about that than I would feel about 7-2 and the offense looking exactly the same as it looked last year in terms of not being able to really move things down the field.
That's the bless you. That's the I guess the takiest take I would have right now is the Chiefs went 15-1 last year and then punted in week 18, game 17. I would bet, and Vegas would tell you, everybody I think would tell you, they're going to have a worse regular season record this year, barring literally going undefeated, because they lost 1 game with their starters, and you shouldn't care what happens in week 18 if that game doesn't matter. They could easily end up in the playoffs with 6 losses and feel better about how the offense is running. Like you said, feel better about where the defense has brought you. But again, the luxury, kind of full circle also. Maybe we just feel safe saying this because Nate's not here. He's going to listen to this. He'll hear this, but I'm not going to give him the credit for it yet.
Tennis is the worst.
What?
I was just saying something to make sure that he's paying attention.
What did you say?
I said tennis is the worst.
Good. Fantastic. He might dial in from the flight right now. The luxury to believe that real football doesn't start until Thanksgiving is built on Isaiah Likely's toenail. Like that's kind of what happened there, right? Like you can say, oh, last year, these huge games they had early on that they eked out. It was Isaiah Likely, right? That they eked out by the finest of margins, or a fumble against the Raiders or a field goal block against the Broncos. And again, I do think the AFC West's ceiling is higher and its collective floor is higher. Everybody's better. Everybody in the division is better than they were last year, I think, except for the Chiefs. Including the Chiefs, maybe except for the Chargers if you count Rashawn Slater's loss. And now it's very, very close to, I think, probably a similar team. But like the Broncos defense is a little better, and I think it's okay to expect Bo Nix to be a little more comfortable. And the Broncos defense is already great. They just added more pieces to it. The Raiders have a real coach and a real quarterback. Geno Smith is always going to be capable of putting up 35 in a way that you weren't expecting, and he's capable of turning the ball over.
To add into that, in terms of the Raiders, the best comp that I've heard, and I know we've talked about a little bit here, is the 2013 Chiefs. They brought in Andy Reid, and I'm not saying Pete Carroll is Andy Reid. I'm not saying Geno Smith is Alex Smith. I would say both of them are not as good as those two guys, but it's a very similar thing. They brought in an adult who's won everywhere he's gone, who has a proven track record and system and respect, and a quarterback who's shown that he is a legitimate NFL quality quarterback. So that I don't expect the Raiders to be a laughingstock this year because Pete Carroll hasn't really coached a lot of laughingstocks in the league. So that's the floor comment. I just had to throw that in there because that really is the Andy Reid, the 2023 Andy Reid and Alex Smith bringing in is the closest thing that I can think of that's analogous.
They're also getting the last place schedule that the Chiefs enjoyed that year in the division. Like I really do think there are paths to that. All of that to say, the way you look does matter because you're projecting forward off of that, but you have to win those games that do come down to the finest of margins, which again, I think is a lesson we taught and learned last year to say, well, we know what it looks like. We're not going to get to the Mahomes film review today. I'm just realizing, Seth.
We're fine. We talked about
I wanted you to get some more into the details. We'll get a few of them. But that is where it's set up now, where it's always a combination where the way you win matters and if you win matters, but you can't lose ugly ever. And if you lose a game starting off the season against a divisional opponent, you're behind the sticks the rest of the way. I'm ending that topic now because the full film review and the write-up is now available in the Chief in the North newsletter. So if nothing else, I'm going to plug it now. mnchiefsfan.substack.com, bit.ly/Seth really hates money. If you want to go ahead and get to the deal, they get you that for $12 a year. The Mahomes film review's up there. We did talk about it quite a bit a couple episodes ago, Seth. Anything else that jumped out to you in that kind of final synthesis of looking back on Patrick Mahomes' 2024 and the way that this offseason has gone narratively?
I think one of the biggest things, and this is something I hadn't done yet when we talked about it last week, is I hadn't gone back and compared his charted numbers, which, again, charting things that actually measure quarterback play. Happy feet in the pocket, finding open receivers, creating yards, franchise throws, things of that nature. Two things that I hadn't really looked at a ton. One was you can actually see a noteworthy drop-off in multiple read plays in 2024 from 23 and 22. We're talking like 2 or 3 a game, which they threw the ball less than in 2023 and then significantly less than 2022. So by rate, it was even more pronounced than just a couple per game, right? Because if you're not dropping back as much, those core numbers will be lower. So on a per game basis, he was not doing not as many multiple read plays. Again, that's where you see and we talked about flushes last week, how much more often he was under pressure, a couple times a game at least. And that's like bad pressure, quick pressure, the kind of pressure that derails plays. So 2 plays a game is wildly significant, especially if it's at a higher percentage, again, because of rate stats. What I would say is you can see the way they tried to accommodate for those issues in him having fewer multiple read plays per game. The other thing, so that's something that I noticed a little more when I really was churning through the numbers. Here's the other thing that I noticed.
That was one thing that jumped out in the reading it today also, because that's also so cyclical, going to like the Matt Nagy freak out that always happens, right? It's like, well, they're not even trying to push the ball downfield. It was like, yeah, because they've kind of given up for reasons that we've all seen.
Yeah, and they kind of gave up on it, and they understood that we have to rely on the quick game. And so you saw Mahomes creating yardage on just a frequent rate, but not creating as big of plays. He just wasn't willing to take chances. They're like, we're going to have 9 drives a game. We're going to maximize it, get a field goal, do whatever we can. The other thing that I'd actually forgotten that I'd done. So after the 2018 season, years and years and years ago, when I wanted to contextualize how well Mahomes played that year by quarterback charting that actually looked at quarterback play, I went and reviewed multiple games of that year, 2018 Tom Brady, 2018 Drew Brees, who was awesome that year, by the way, and so was Brady, and 2018 Russ Wilson. And then I went and reviewed multiple games of 2011 Aaron Rodgers, and I utilized those games. It was probably like 16 total, give or take, for all the quarterbacks. And I charted those guys to try to have some kind of contextualization. Mahomes' numbers last year in terms of actual quarterback play with things that he doesn't control were as good as 2018 Tom Brady, as good as 2018 Drew Brees, as good as 2018 Russ Wilson. A little bit different. He had happier feet, but he was a little more accurate. He didn't miss quite as many shots on the field, but so there was some give and take there. But it was right up there with elite quarterback numbers. And so this is where something that really jumped out to me is that, did he play maybe a little worse than last year? Maybe a tad, but it's the ways he played worse was impossible to separate from what was going on around him. And I don't even know if you could say he played worse by actual charting the tangible things he did as an individual. He still did all of it at an elite level. And it was really demonstrative to me that the conversation around Mahomes has shifted so much that he really is just compared to himself, or someone just talks about raw stats because they don't really know ball. And that really stood out to me. I didn't expect his numbers. I went into it fully expecting to see that his 2024 numbers took like a 5 to 10% decline, because I anecdotally saw some rough snaps. Honestly, maybe like a 2 or 3% decline, maybe. Certainly probably from 2022, where he was in a better situation. So those are the two things that really jumped out now that the film review is up. I would encourage everyone to take a look at it, because it does really contextualize so many things when you look at all of it. And there's a game-by-game breakdown too of the stats in each game, because I believe in showing your work. So I learned a lot about just how much the results of a play can be affected by things outside of a quarterback's control, even when he is still basically the same dude. It was really, really interesting to see.
Yeah, it's fascinating. It's a good read. And if you want to make it one of the last things you read about the 2024 Chiefs season before fully turning the page on Friday, I think that's a good use of your time. A great use of your time will be coming just after a quick timeout. We're going to kick it over to Benny Heisler for a second, and we're going to come back with a very special guest with a very special reveal.
What's good, everyone? It is KCSN betting analyst Benny Heiss. Something hit me as I was driving to the Missouri side, ironically, for something not available on the Kansas side. I cross over. I just can't get over how long sports fans in the state of Missouri have been waiting. It feels like forever. Good news is you don't have to wait much longer, because DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook app, is finally coming to the Show Me State. And if you're thinking, yeah, but I got to wait on the sidelines until December 1st, it's not true. You can sign up right now. And when we go live, new Missouri customers get $300 in bonus bets just for placing a $5 bet. $5. That's not even as much as a pumpkin spice latte that's going to take over. So it's not some ragtag sports, but this is DraftKings. You got live in-game betting. So if your team starts hot, you could jump in mid-play. There's lightning fast payouts. None of that wait 3 days for your money nonsense. And you've got more ways to get in on the action. There's no better way to start. It's all from your phone. When we go live, you'll be betting with a sportsbook trusted by millions, safe, secure, fast withdrawals, everything you want. Well, except maybe a guarantee that your team will cover the spread, but that part's still on you. So here's the move. You download the DraftKings Sportsbook app, use code KCSN, and when we go live December 1st, that $5 bet turns into $300 in bonus bets. That is code KCSN in partnership with DraftKings Sportsbook. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 21 plus and physically present in Missouri. Eligibility restrictions apply. Bonus bets expire 7 days after they are issued. Excludes customers who redeem pre-launch sign-up offer. Terms at sportsbook.draftkings.com/promos.
Success in real estate takes more than vision. It takes the right financial partner. When someone takes something rundown and turns it into something great, that's called a comeback story, like Brain Group. They take distressed properties here in KC, completely rework them, and then turn them into valuable real estate. But that kind of work needs the right bank behind it. Enter Emprise Bank. They're not about cookie-cutter loans. They saw Brain Group's vision, backed them, and now they're making big moves in Kansas City real estate. Talk about your partner in possible. Emprise doesn't do one-size-fits-all financing. They invest in potential and back growth. Visit emprisebank.com/KC to learn more. Emprise Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
We are joined now by a very special guest who is a Renaissance man in many ways, an expert of many things. But for our purposes today, he is the creator of the Only Weird Games bingo card. And we've gone 7 by 7 in 2025. Randy Jazayerli, welcome to the show.
Thank you, guys. It is a distinct honor and privilege to finally be on the show. It only took 4 years of bingo cards, but you finally brought me on to discuss why Seth is a walking, talking meme. It's about time.
I mean, Seth, I'm going to let you defend yourself by and large today because I feel like I'm honored to be here for what I have to imagine is your guys' first meeting. I don't know if you've crossed paths in any other case. There's a lot going on here. Randy, you'll have every opportunity to talk every bit of nonsense you want to talk in both of our directions. That's fine. But I just have to say, I have done something new this year. I printed out this year's bingo card and put it on a clipboard because I am going to track these starting on Thursday. I'm going to track these to the best of my ability. And man, we have some club bangers in here.
You know, I think you reach a certain point in your life where you just become comfortable becoming a walking, talking meme. And Rainey, I took that phrasing from you. I think you tweeted it or something, and that just stuck in my head. And I remember thinking, like, you know what? I am. And that's okay. That's going to be all right. And it's like, Seth, you seem to lack self-awareness. Like, well, yes, I do, but not as much as you'd think. I've just really accepted it. And no, Rainey and I, our paths have never crossed. We've tried once or twice to try to figure out a time that our paths could cross in person, but I've just so long been an admirer of your work, man. I love the fact that about once a year, the Chiefs make the Super Bowl. You're a lot like Rustin Dodd, actually. About once a year, you come in out of nowhere, drop better Chiefs content than I've written all year, and just like in one giant article on The Ringer or, on Grantland back in the day, and then you just gone again, and then you just leave as the rest of us are like, you know how stupid this makes us look? Like,
yeah.
You know what a jerk this makes me look like? And so I'm thrilled to have you on, man. And I just appreciate you so much. And man, this bingo card does not go well for me anywhere.
Well, thank you very much for those very kind words. I know you're just trying to distract people by talking about me instead of you. But it is fun. It is fun to show you guys how us old pros do this. Because of course, one of the things on the bingo card is you guys incessantly making fun of Seth for being so freaking old. And he just turned 40. And I turned 50 this summer. And let me tell you, I don't want to cross that one off the bingo card anymore. I want that spot to remain blank. Because, like, I as somebody who actually has, like, whose heart was truly ripped out by the Lynn Elliott game, like, Josh, no more jokes about us being old. Like, we've suffered. Seth at least gets it a little bit. I do.
I need you to know this is never at the expense of simply people older than me. It's at Seth's expense. Seth's 40 or 45 or 55 or whatever you said he is. Seth wears his years heavily on his sleeves. His what, do we have a number on this year's bingo card? 47 children. age
Very
him in a
tired.
way that I think he's accepted. So no, look, there are lots of people in my life age 40 or over who I respect the youthfulness of. It's just Seth isn't one of them.
Yeah, the big thing to remember is that it's not business; it's only personal. It's strictly related to me. He doesn't have a problem with age; he has a problem with me, and any avenue by which he can attack me and maybe lower my self-esteem a little bit. It's kind of like the things I say to him. I don't have a problem with diabetic people per se. I have a problem with Josh and his incredibly weak pancreas. Like,
well, the pancreas made the very first bingo card. Don't worry. Like, I see people in the comment section, suggesting spots on the bingo card. I'm like, we've covered those before. Like, it's become a challenge to come up with new content every year. But thankfully, I have Seth there to just rip off one banger after another. I mean, I have to thank you specifically, Seth, because the whole idea of the bingo card came from listening to the show and hearing you talk about your wife like she was an imaginary Canadian girlfriend. Because I mean, you live in like northern Minnesota, you might as well be Canadian anyway. And I'm like, is this woman for real? And if Josh hadn't like specifically, said that he had talked to her and met her, I would have been skeptical. But hearing you just go on and on about Jazz, I'm like, this could be a drinking game. I'm Muslim, so I don't drink. So I'm like, the only other option for me was the bingo card. I'm like, I gotta create something, and
it's once again the four corners are related.
Yes, the four corners are, so here's, sorry, I gotta bring us in to say, Tucker, yep, let's put it up. So here it is. If you want to see it for yourself, if you're listening in the audio right now, it's on Twitter at Jazayerli. Plus, I've retweeted it. I think Nate's retweeted it. I don't know what country he's over right now. Seth retweeted it. Don't follow Seth. You can see the bingo card there. We are 7x7 this year. Some of the largest text that jumps off the screen, Leroy Chanel Jenkins, Kiko is a slut, Seth blew himself, quote, here's my dick, unquote. Randy, take us into the lab with you here. That's a different show on KCSN. Take us into your board. Take us to your drawing board here. What is it that really brings you to the place you need to be at to build one of these bingo cards?
Well, I mean, so the first one, I mean, that was just literally sitting down and just remembering all the ridiculousness that Seth had come up with. But it's become a little more scientific over time, which basically involves listening to the show. I listen on my commute, so I don't get the video very often. So the Seth blew himself. That's a very much an if you know, but that's probably
I feel the need to share that's spelled BLUE, people.
Oh, it is. I didn't even notice.
Only. Sorry, go ahead, Rainey.
the Arrested Development spelling.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But that's the one time I think I regret not watching the video, because the comment section I know was such fire that day. But really, at the end of my commute, when I get to work, I park the car, I pull out my phone, and I just write down anything that happened on that week's show that I'm like, this needs to go on the bingo card next year. And that's how I got to 7x7 this year. So, a 2-episode discussion on the promiscuity of Seth's dog. That was
I got so shamed
that
over
was
that.
An easy one.
I was just like, guys, you know what? She just, you know what? Someone's commenting now. Seth, don't try to explain. It doesn't help.
No,
fair
Seth,
enough.
Let's be honest. Sometimes I swear you are I don't even think it's subconscious. I think you are consciously trying to get on the next year's bingo card. When you started telling the story about your daughter covering up your buy cans with Sydney Sweeney's picture on it with duct tape so that her father would not be tempted by the temptress that is Sydney Sweeney. I mean, I think I DM'd Josh. I'm like, what the hell is he doing?
To be fair, it's not that Isabel is worried about me.
Your mortal soul.
She is, and I appreciate that. It's that she's worried about all people being tempted. She doesn't. I was helping with VBS that week. Think of the children as I'm walking around sending very conflicting messages. But my favorite, Isabel walks in the room And like, I don't know how, because I mean, like those buy drinks, they're not that big. And it's on the other side of the room. And she walks in and just like, shoom, like and she's like, who's that girl on that bottle? I'm like, I really don't know. And so like I start to, she's like, give me that. She takes it. She's like, who's Sydney Sweeney? And just like went off. And then next thing I know, I'm like, okay, whatever. I leave, I come back, and there's duct tape across all the bottles. And I have never been more proud of, more frightened of my daughter than
I have
in
one
this
follow-up
moment.
question for you, Seth, this far removed from that story.
Oh, no.
Yes or no answer. All answer, yes or no answer.
Gotcha.
You bought that flavor again?
He can't resist temptation, Josh.
Strawberry
He's a mortal man like the rest of us.
Strawberry flavor.
Seth, shut up. I can mute him again. I have the login. He buys them and then just drinks them in his car. He just pounds all 6 in the car and then just throws the bottles in the back and prays she never sees.
Oh, man.
I'll be honest. The most hard to believe part of that story, as someone who has 4 daughters, so I've stopped making fun of how many kids you've got, by the way. It's funny because there's the George Carlin bit about when you're driving, anybody who drives faster than you is a maniac, and anybody who drives slower than you is a moron.
Yep.
And it's like when you've got kids, like anybody who has more kids than you is crazy. Anybody who has fewer kids than you is like deprived.
Yeah,
so
what
it's
are you
like
doing?
5 kids, Seth. That's insane. Wait a minute, I have 4. So, but as someone who has 4 daughters, the fact that your daughter doesn't know who Sydney Sweeney is, if she's anything older than like 3, that's the most shocking part of that story. Like,
well, we're Baptists, so
you're showing.
Which is
she knows John and Charles Wesley. Those are her celebrities.
wait, Seth. You're Baptist? Josh, did you know this?
Well,
that brings me to the portion.
This is shocking news.
Anyone can call themselves Baptist. That's the beautiful thing. It's like, yeah, sure, why not? Sure.
This brings me to my my most sought after portion of today's show, which is I just would like for all of us to pick a couple of our favorites, and I'm going to go ahead and center right on into Seth and Nate discuss the finer points of Christian theology while Josh is conspicuously quiet.
Josh, so
you can mark that one off every 2 weeks.
Yeah, it's. You know, what people don't know is what's happening there is Josh knows that he's 1 sentence away from me never not talking for the rest
from the
of
show
the
being
show.
over. Yes.
Yeah.
I am always 1 sentence away. I'll tell you what, someday we'll talk again about my theological background, and it will absolutely boggle some minds of people who have only gotten around this show more recently, but it will never happen during a show that I care about, because as soon as that happens, if that happens at the 12-minute mark, that's the rest of the show. I'm also really excited about the potential double dinger back-to-back of Seth tells an incredibly embarrassing story from his teenage years, and Seth has no idea that his story is embarrassing.
You know, yeah, that's fair. I got nothing. There's no defense. One of my very favorite ones. I was looking around at these, and the lower right, where I just like, it's always been so like, man, Seth loves his wife a lot. Man, this, but now this Seth's loving relationship with Jazz is starting to sound like Stockholm Syndrome. That made me pause and reevaluate my life for a minute, which is how you know it's a good bingo card item, where it's like, how do I sound when I talk about my wife? Like
same for me. Reading Josh feels more and more like Jazz with each passing day. That one's also had to think about that one for a while. Tell you what, Randy, took me a second to remember what the hell Josh will give Mr. Munch a good home was about. I read that and I had to think. I went, oh yeah, hey, it's Chuck E. Cheese. Where are you? I know there's not I could have a Mr. Munch behind me right now. Never heard from you, Chuck.
That was the dream.
It's still the dream. I forgot it was a dream of mine, and I'm bringing it back for this football season. Big fan. So I printed this one off. I just made 2 copies, so I just hand one to Renee because I knew she would be tickled. I handed one to Renee, and we read a couple of them and laughed and it highlighted some of our favorites. And then I walked upstairs and I heard her cackle from the basement. I went, "What? Which one was that?" And I heard Renee yell from downstairs, "Nate lusts for Martha Stewart." That's extremely exciting.
Yeah, we need to stage an intervention for Nate. Like, I know he's not here today, but like, look, look, Martha Stewart could get it back in the 90s, and I'm old enough that I can remember when Martha Stewart could get it. But Martha Stewart is 84 years old, Nate. She's older than Joe Biden and Donald Trump.
And Jerry Jones.
So whichever party,
Jerry Jones.
Yeah, and Jerry, whatever party you are convinced the president is like senile. Martha Stewart is older than that. So like maybe it's time to move on. But I
mean, look, we can all agree for 84. I mean, come on.
The problem with us trying to shame Nate over that is if I've learned one thing about Nate Taylor over the years, he does not shame. And we'll get 10 minutes of him doing something of, woo! And I just can't do that again with Martha Stewart. All due respect to Ms. Stewart.
Tucker, I don't need you to come on screen for this, but if you can bring your mic on for a second, I would just like to ask you which one of these hits you the hardest, because all of these really rattled my cage. We have Nate gets the final word, which lasts 15 minutes. Nate breaks down his favorite sport, tennis.
Yeah.
All three hosts are on the show from the beginning to end, parentheses. This almost never happens.
That one hurt. That one hurt a lot.
A commenter makes one of the hosts laugh, but it's never explained why.
That one's incredible. That one is incredible.
All of those, no pun intended, Randy, surgical. Absolutely surgical.
Are we bad at our jobs?
Yes!
That's why we listen, guys. You can. I hope you can feel the love that comes through the bingo card, because the fact that me and everyone else still listens to the show, it must not be despite all of that. It's because of all of that.
That's fair.
I will say my favorite aside from the most recent entry. I literally had to make a last minute edit here. When we found out that after weeks of thinking Seth was talking about a player's bounce, that it was balance.
Balance.
Like, what part of Minnesota is your accent from? Like Kamchatka? like Nome? Like where?
He's from Letterkenny, Minnesota.
Balance like bounce. I just assumed you know ball. That was on a previous bingo card. You know ball better than I do. So I just assumed bounce was something that running backs had that I was just too ignorant to know about. It was balance. Like,
man,
my God.
Look at that offensive tackle's contact bounce. Like, it's just,
I think that was
right
what tipped me off at some point.
Balance. I don't enunciate super well. Fortunately, none of my jobs require that I communicate well. So, man, I'm just trying to figure out if I've ever done that, in a sentencing request in a way that goes from Your Honor, I think we just need to
bounce the scales of justice.
Yeah, I'm going to bounce.
There's a man in prison right now because you can't enunciate, Seth.
Yeah, and that weighs on me, but at the same time, what can you do? I mean, honestly, I'm too old to change. In my 40 years, I've realized that I don't know. But no, these are all so good. And the fact that they made me slightly uncomfortable makes it so much better. It's like, man, do I do that a lot? Do I say icky things about my marriage?
That's top left. So everybody can go ahead and cross that one off on Thursday. Seth says something so icky about his marriage, he gets put in a timeout. Yeah, go ahead. And so again, I think what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to keep this this clipboard version and try to cross off and date them as we go. We're really going to need commenter influence on this, because we're only going to be able to memorize these so quickly and recognize them in real time so well. So if you hear one of these come through the show, just blow up the live chat with it so we can make sure we cross it off on the official bingo card. And I don't know, we can set an over under for when we hit our first bingo. There are a couple very promising lines here, I will say.
Hold on. Commenter Stephen Holman, because I'm telling you why I'm laughing at the comments, Rainey.
Thank you.
Seth doesn't like change. I couldn't tell by his haircut. Look, man. It's starting to go. What do you want from me? When I grow it out, it poofs. It's so
Seth
bad, guys.
Obliterated by a commenter can be one for the 2026.
Well, I mean, we had the commenter last bingo card that when he thought bend over was huge ass. Excuse me, huge ass was a real comment. No, but my favorite this time was that didn't happen. Seth didn't get trolled by a commenter. Instead, he read a tweet on air from a fake account named P. That's the first initial P, last name Enos. And he did it in complete sincerity. You're just good for these once a year stuff. You just, like I said, you can't help it. And now you're not trying. You're leaning into it. I admire the fact that you're leaning in to who you are.
I'm just going to share so much AI generated fake news on Facebook after this. I am going to just share it, be like, I can't believe this. Like, I just, it just, that's how it goes. That's life. I have.
Do you like forward like Facebook messages to your family like 3 times a day like a grandmother? I'm just curious.
I don't, but I do word plays that at this point are making my older sisters get upset with me and be like, "Okay, Dad," and that's a tough place to be. And honestly, I kind of like the jokes, man. I do. Like, it just like grows in your mind like a virus. It's like the rage virus, but like the dad virus. And, sometimes you just got to settle in and accept your fate. Don't fight it. Those words are almost never said in a good context, but just don't fight it.
No kidding. Well, on that note of hope and optimism from our absolute stalwart in the middle box here, that's going to do it for this edition of Only Weird Games. Randy Jazayerli, you can follow him on Twitter at Jazayerli. And Randy, anything people need to know about that you want to plug anything other than the bingo card that you spend real human hours of work on a regular basis?
Well, if you want to hear my voice, because people don't get to hear my voice enough, so and you care about the Royals, I do have my podcast with Seren Petro, Kaufman Corner, that we tape almost every Sunday night. I don't know if it's quite as memeable as this show is.
We're professionals.
Probably not as funny, but maybe more insightful. I don't know. I'll let the listeners decide about that.
Really kind.
And then, like I said, about once a year, I'll pop up with the Chiefs column somewhere, usually at the Ringer, when they'll have me.
Which should be as often as you have something to say, because Seth is right. I would really appreciate if you would just if you just get in the minds for one pre-draft, do a mock draft maybe next year. Go aggregate a press conference, just really get in the muck once or twice just to feel like you're down here in the dirt with us. But yeah, there you go.
I mean, Patrick Mahomes is he's like a sinecure for me. He's a pension. Every year I get to make money writing a column about Patrick Mahomes is even better than you thought. It's just since his first year as a starter, he has been a blessing for me on so many levels, but on a professional level, he turned me into a football writer. That's special, because I was not writing a bunch about football, in part because I don't know that much about football. But I know enough about Patrick Mahomes and about how great he is to be able to write about that and surprise people who are like, this Patrick Mahomes guy is better than I thought. Yeah, he is. That's what's been so fun about being a Chiefs fan, is just watching the rest of the world wake up to the fact that, as I believe the center space was on one of the bingo cards. What is it? The team you root for
has Patrick.
The team you root for has Patrick Mahomes. So that has not changed. That and
it hasn't.
You guys and Seth being memeable on Only Weird Games. Those are the two constants in my life.
It really is remarkable how consistent we and this show and Seth specifically has been over the years. Because to your point from earlier, if I hadn't met Jazz in person very early on, I just would have assumed he'd been getting catfished for years. I always was waiting for him to say no, I'm buying her a plane ticket. She's gonna come. We're gonna meet this weekend. And but I've met her. She's lovely. I hate to say it, but he's right.
She is lovely.
You're in on the conspiracy, Josh. That's
well, and that's just it.
Wasn't that lawyer money spins? Okay, I gotta.
Some days I'm still not so sure this isn't just a long con, which, to be fair, I admire the commitment. So
yeah, at this point, who are we doing?
At this point, I don't even care if I'm getting conned. I'm just going to lean into it.
Exactly.
Don't fight.
Randy, I have one spot to put you on here, because I also very, very much enjoyed one of these bingo boxes of Nate gets the final word, which lasts 15 minutes. Now, I am hoping that you don't need to press for Nate's record, but Nate's not here. You've already said something eloquent and wonderful about Patrick Mahomes, and Seth and I have talked plenty. So without further ado, Randy, get us out of here.
Well, I'll take about 15 seconds. I just want to say, look, guys, I love the show. I mock you, Seth, because I love you. Maybe. But the show is, at this point, I don't know. I don't even know if it's about the Chiefs anymore. It's a great hang with three people who are really weird in their own ways, but I feel like we're all friends, and now I guess I'm very honored to make that official, consummate our friendship, Seth and Josh. Say hi to Nate for me, and maybe I'll catch up with him in the future. Say, Nate Taylor of ESPN, if you'll let me.
Yes.
If I'm allowed to meet with him now. So, but yeah, thanks for having me on. Maybe we'll do this again next year. I'm a little nervous about trying to match the quantity of stuff on this card, but I have faith that Seth will pull us through.
And Seth, I do want you to know, it's okay to consummate this relationship because we are in the confines of a loving podcast.
Oh, that is kind of a game changer.
Bingo!
Got to slap that ring on it and everything goes.